Welcome everyone to the Space Tradr podcast. My name is Matt. I am the creator of SpaceTradr.com and also the host of this show. Our mission at Space Tradr is to help businesses grow by giving them several focused ways to connect with like-minded business owners and get more visibility into what they do. So we want to make it easy for businesses to build relationships that create value and opportunity for both parties by helping start the conversation. Our website is a classifieds style site where you can create a listing and explain what your business needs and how you can help return the favor. To learn more about what we do, head over to SpaceTradr.com and take a look around. This podcast is an extension of that concept, and I'm hopeful that as we talk to a variety of business owners, you'll get to know them better, what makes them tick, and ultimately draw inspiration from their stories. So with that being said, it is my pleasure to introduce our very first guest, Chris Denny, owner of Chris's Barbershop in Batavia, Ohio. Welcome, Chris.
How you doing?
How's it going, man?
I'm good.
So this is episode 1. How was the intro? Was it okay?
Yeah.
After, we had to re-record it, but that's okay.
Well, it's got to be perfect the first time.
It's got to be perfect the first time, which is why you're here, right? So why you got to have the perfect guest for the first episode.
I don't need that kind of pressure, Matt.
That's right. Well, so look, first of all, in full disclosure to everybody that's listening, you and I have been friends for how long? I was going to say 10 years, but it's probably more like 15 now, isn't it?
It's about 13, I believe.
13 years, man. So
roughly. We've known each other for 13.
13 years. Friends for
most of that.
Most of that time, yeah. So I approached you, I don't know, probably a year or so ago, and I said, hey, I got an idea for this website project called Space Tradr, and said, hey, would you be willing to, let me post something on the website about your business? And you said, sure. And so then it kind of lay dormant for a little while, and COVID hit and everything else kind of hit at the same time. And so I'm relaunching some of that, and part of what I'm looking to do is start this podcast and talk to guys like you and anybody out there that owns a business. And like I said, just really try to get into what makes you guys tick as a business owner and why you do what you do.
Well, I think that the podcast is a great idea because people will enjoy, I think, hearing from current business owners who have a measure of success, however you define that.
Yeah. And
find out what runs through their heads and what they've had success with in their business and try to translate it over what they want to do.
Right. So I think, I don't know, it's when you think of business owners, I don't know if you're like me, but I mean, outside of this, which, is new, when I think of business owners, you think of like Walmart, and like the Jeff Bezos of the world and all these different people, right? But I don't know, to me, then you look at all these, small business owners, guys like you and different people that you and I know, and I think there's still the same mindset out there. And to me, I don't know, just starting your own thing and saying, I'm going to commit to this and I'm going to feed my family off of this business, to me, is something that is just remarkable. I just think it's super cool. That's why I'm doing this, and that's why I'm trying to talk to people that do it.
Well, I mean, I guess for the average person, they might, when they think of business, their mind's probably going to go to big business first. But as someone who's been involved in a small business for a long time, I normally would think of that first and try to support small businesses whenever possible.
Right. I know that. So I got a lot of questions for you, and I dug as deep as I could. I know you're a big not small business, but you're a big local business guy, right? I mean, I know that's
probably
pretty important to you.
Well-known business person in the community.
Yeah.
Big's got a lot of meanings to it.
Yeah. But I would say you're, I don't know, you're pretty committed, or at least you would support the idea of supporting local business, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, why would you say, other than just the fact that you're a local business, right? I mean, why would you say that's important to you, or what do you kind of get from that?
Well, small businesses, you hear the cliches, they're the fabric of society and things like that, but really they are the thing that sets your community apart from other communities in that way. They offer something that the big box retailers or the big franchise restaurants and things like that don't offer. It's personal service. It's a quality product. It's the chance to know the owner of the business and have that kind of interaction. You walk into a Walmart, you're never going to meet one of the Walton family.
Right. Do you find, is that something that you would say is more valuable now to an average customer than it used to be, or is that something that you think maybe isn't as valuable anymore?
Valuable is one of those terms like big. It can be defined a lot of ways, but I do think there is value in that personal relationship, because you become acquaintances, maybe even friends with that business owner, and you enjoy knowing that you get to somehow help support that person in their endeavor, in their family. You get to know the names of their kids and their wife or husband, and it means more when you know the face that is attached to it.
Right. Yeah, I would think. I know, just thinking of barbershops. My grandfather went to a guy, Jim the Barber, in Mount Carmel. So for those of you that are out there listening that may or may not from the Cincinnati area, Chris is on the east side of Cincinnati. I don't know, about 20 minutes east of downtown, and I grew up here. I think you grew up here too. And but yeah, my grandpa, he went to Jim, and that's the only guy he ever went to. And I think when he passed away, we invited Jim to the funeral, right? That's the kind of relationship they had, and so when I was coming up, I went to Jim because my grandpa went to Jim and he took us to Jim. And, I think that you don't create those kind of relationships when you see, just a bunch of different faces at, big box stores or, franchises and things like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely not. Because you think about my average customer, they come and see me 10, 12, 15, 20 times a year, some of them.
Yeah.
We spend 15, 20, 30 minutes together. Maybe they sit for a little while before they get their hair cut. That's a little bit more time we get to interact.
Yeah.
It's easy to become friends with the people that are coming in.
Right.
And you look forward to seeing them, and I think they look forward to seeing me too.
Yeah. Is there, some of the people that you see, from time to time, do you have, some that you would say, okay, these are my favorites when they come in? Assuming everybody, you get a smile on your face when they come back in, especially if you've seen them often, but are there a couple that, it's, hey, it's so-and-so, and, you're excited to see when they come in because, they bring something a little extra to the experience even for you and for your shop?
Yeah, absolutely. I treasure every customer that I have, but some of them, they reach a different level of we have a lot of things in common, or we just really enjoy each other's company. Maybe they're a great tipper. Right. There's lots of reasons, but there are definitely some customers that I really enjoy seeing, and some that I maybe dread a little bit, but they're still a paying customer, and I want them to come here and have a great experience.
Yeah.
And tell their friends.
Yeah, I was thinking about, when I was prepared for this, I was thinking, one question that popped up was, you're in a very personal job, right?
Absolutely.
You are the centerpiece. The haircut is really a centerpiece to the appearance of someone, and people, they get haircuts before they have big moments in their life, before a job interview, before they get married, before they go on a date with somebody, right?
Or a holiday where they're going to see grandma for the first time in months.
Right. So that's got to be interesting for you to kind of know. Do you, was there ever a point where you kind of felt the weight of maybe the first time you cut somebody's hair before a wedding? You're like, oh, I better not mess it up?
That was the first thing that came to mind. There's been many times over the years where someone will come in and sit down, and halfway through the haircut they go, oh, and be their first time in the barbershop.
Yeah.
And say, oh, my fiance sent me up here because we're getting married Saturday and it's Thursday.
Right.
And she wants me to look, much more presentable than, I look right now, or
right.
as I came through the door.
She's
no pressure though.
She's hoping that I look something like when we first met, and she decided to date me, or when I proposed, right?
Before I let myself go.
Right, right. Okay, so would you rather know? Let's say it's a wedding scenario. Would you rather know going into the haircut that they're going to a wedding, or would you rather just not know? I mean, is there added pressure if you know up front? Oh crap! I better not.
Early in my career, yes, I would rather know right away beforehand.
Really?
Later in my career, I don't really feel that pressure anymore, but it's fun to joke about.
Yeah.
So in a way, I would kind of like not want to know, so that those jokes can be made. Like, oh, no pressure. Thanks for dropping that bomb on me.
Oh man, I just think that the haircut is so personal, and people that they think that they're, this is the way I think it should look, right? And then you turn that chair around and they see that mirror, and they're probably going, oh, that's exactly what I was hoping for, and you high five them and send them on their way to do whatever's next, right?
One of my favorite things to say is when they go, that's perfect. I say, well, better stop now. I can't do any better than that. But personal is the word that I've heard you say a couple times, and really what I do and what people in my profession do for their customers is a very personal service, because we are in close contact for 15, 20 minutes.
Right.
I'm touching them. They're allowing that to happen. And the haircut that they wear out of my shop is in my hands.
Right.
Whether or not they got to cover it up with a hat, or they're going to be proud to sport it all over town. That's what it's one of the things that makes my business what it is.
Yeah.
And I want them to be happy. Most importantly, though, I want the significant other in their life to be happy, because if I make that person happy, they'll always be back.
Right. That's good. There's so many, I don't know, I guess functions of society that are, that are so important, like I said, to, what somebody looks like, or how they go about their day, or their self-esteem, or how they think of themselves, right? I mean, it's anything from, let's say dentistry work, or, the clothes that they wear, right? I mean, and their appearance, like I say, with their haircut and things like that it's paramount, right? I mean, they either feel comfortable and confident, or they don't, right?
For a certain segment of the population, it's absolutely true.
Yeah. So would you say that's part of what maybe got you into like doing what you do, or how does one? I guess my question is, how does one discover that their calling is to be a barber?
That's a very interesting question, Matt.
We have all night.
For me, it was not that. I had, finished high school, went off to college for a little while, stopped going to college short of any kind of degree. Got married after my wife graduated with her bachelor's degree, sent her back to school to get her master's degree, and the whole time I didn't really know what I wanted to do at that point. I had started working in the auto parts business. I had worked for many auto parts places and dealerships over an 8-year period of time. And my wife finished her master's degree, and the plan was for me to go back to school when she was done with that, and then start my life.
Yeah.
I thought my life was already started. But at about the same time, the barber that I had been going to since I was a teenager, and at this point I'm about 26 years old, had a couple times in that time period suggested to me, like, hey, if I ever thought about being a barber. And one time it stuck, and I said, you know what, I'd be interested in hearing about being a barber. And we made a date. We got together at a little pub down the street from where I lived, and we sat for a few hours and had a couple beers, and we talked about it. And I learned that barbering was not only lucrative in the sense that you could live a comfortable life doing it. Definitely was more lucrative than selling auto parts and doing that kind of work. But also had been a fulfilling job for him for several decades at that point. And then he made an offer to me and said, if you're interested, I will pay for your barber school.
No kidding.
And I took him up on that deal. And I thought, I'll go try it. I've never cut anyone's hair before.
Yeah.
If I don't like it, I do it for a couple of months. I decide to get away from it, and I pay him for that couple of months of time in school. Pay him back for that, and thank him for the opportunity, but bow out. I started barber school about 6 months later, and never turned back. I did enjoy it, and I've been doing it now for 20 plus years.
So did you end up working with him at his barbershop, or did you go somewhere else? Or
it's interesting that you asked, because originally that was kind of the deal. He says, I'll pay for it, but when you get done, I'd like you to come work where I work, which was the shop that he managed for his father, for a period of 2 years. You complete the 2 years, you'll never have to pay me back. And I thought, okay, that's a shop I'm familiar with. It's a busy shop. I should do well there. Things changed in the meantime while I was in school, which took almost a year after I started, plus the 5 or 6 months it took me to get into the school. And there wasn't a place for me there. So he said, I'm sorry, Chris, we just don't have a station open. But I have an uncle who has a barbershop. It's actually closer to your home. I know he's got a chair open. Why don't you talk to Frank? See if he'll allow you to come there and work. And if you go there and work for 2 years, I'll be happy. Yeah. I'll be satisfied. And I found out later, after I did not complete that 2 years without leaving the barbershop where I started, I worked there for about 19 months. And some things happened, and I needed to leave and find another opportunity. And I called Chris, the barber that made me that offer, and paid my way and let him know what had happened. And I fully expected I'd have to pay back the $4,500 that he paid for me to go to school. And he says, well, what's your next step? I said, I'm going to get another job as a barber. He says, sounds good to me. It was never about you paying a debt to me in time. It was about you giving it long enough to get some kind of foothold in the business and see what it could be after you've given it some time. And he was satisfied, and now I own my own shop, and I'm doing it this many years later. Yeah.
So what do you think, because you said he approached you about starting it, right? So what do you think that he was, it's interesting that he would say, hey, this is something I think you would be good at, or you'd be interested in, and take it down that far. Is it something that you could tell it's something that he really enjoyed it in his life and thought, man, this is something I would enjoy passing on to somebody that I think would be good at it? And because there's a customer service element to your job that I don't know that everybody would be good at, right? And you have to have the right personality probably to pull it off and to do it the right way. And maybe he saw that in you and thought, man, this guy would be really good at this, and he'd take care of people.
Well, you just hit the nail on the head. It is a personal business, and we had come to know each other after I was going there for years, every 3 weeks to get a haircut. And he liked my personality. He thought it would fit well in a barbershop doing that type of job, that I was suited for that kind of work, not afraid to talk to my customers, not afraid to get to know them. He made me that offer, and I'm sure that he talked to some other people over the years. I don't know, maybe. I've never run into another person that had that same experience as I did, but he saw something in me through our relationship.
Yeah.
And decided that he wanted to help me up.
That's cool.
I was languishing in that field of auto parts for 8 years and wasn't really getting anywhere. I was making $9 an hour and not sure if I was going back to college or what. And he provided me an opportunity, which is far more better than in the money end of things, and really not just money, but it's satisfying.
Yeah.
To be able to help people.
Yeah.
Over and over again all day long to improve the condition of their hair at the moment or beard or whatever. And and make them happy.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that there are people that are out there that are still invested, in other people's success, and it's cool to meet those people. It's cool to be that person too, right? It's cool to have an opportunity to reach out to somebody and try to, help them along the way and then eventually see them succeed. Do you still have contact with, you said it was Chris, right?
I haven't really talked to him in many years. And I'm sure the phone works both ways. It's my fault as much as anybody else's.
It's life. It's been 20 years, right?
It has been, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've probably talked to him in the last 10 years, but probably most of that 10. And, he's hit a different point in his life where, he's probably 15 or 20 years older than me, and I'm 48 years old, so I think he's probably very close to retirement and that kind of stuff. And his kids are grown and he's got grandchildren now, and probably keeps him pretty busy, I would imagine.
Yeah. And a life well lived, it sounds like, from him.
I remember asking him the night that he made that offer to me, why would he do something like that? Because it just sounded foreign to me.
Yeah.
And he said, my wife and I have done well for ourselves. She worked for a large financial institution as in management, and Chris at one time had been a surgical assistant in a hospital and had left that to go back to barbering. They had a nice home. Their kids were teenagers at the time and on their way to college or close to it. And he said, we've done well for ourselves and we like to do charity, but rather than send it off to a nameless, faceless corporation or organization to help people we have no idea who they are, we like to do our charity at home and get to see the result. And it touched me, man. It was probably set the table for a lot of just working in that personal service situation.
Yeah. It's, I've never met that Chris. It's interesting that your name is Chris, right? So, but it's fun. I mean, I've known you, like we said, in 12, 13 years now. And it sounds like I know him because I know you. It sounds like you guys are probably pretty similar in terms of, who you are. So, okay. So you come out of barber school and you've worked at a couple different places, right? Doing barbering. And so you're renting chairs or renting a space, a station from somebody that owns a shop, right?
Basically, yeah. It wasn't necessarily a rental situation where I was paying a fixed amount. Most barbershops in the Cincinnati area, at least, that I've had any kind of interaction with, work on a basis where each barber pays a commission to the shop owner.
Gotcha.
So they get a percentage of everything you do.
Yeah.
And that's the way I run my shop, too, for my partner in crime, who helps me daily in there to take care of the flow of traffic. And it works well for us.
Yeah. So we would be remiss, since you already brought him up, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about Joe Greener, right?
Joe Greener, yep.
So before we get into Joe Greener, have you ever had anybody else work at your shop other than Joe? Or is Joe...
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
It would take me a moment to count them up.
No kidding. Okay.
I've owned my shop now for almost 19 years. Joe's worked with me for 11. He started out part-time. He's been full-time for probably 9 years. But I've had several barbers over the years work for me, with me, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
They're independent contractors. And if I took the time to count it, it's surely double digits. But none of them stayed more than a couple of years.
Yeah.
Except for Joe.
So what do you think it is about Joe? What's the staying power of Joe, or what do you think makes him special that he would hang around?
Joe's an interesting subject. He is honest as the day is long, loyal as any person you'll ever meet. Absolutely is a people pleaser to a fault sometimes, where it's almost awkward, and enjoys nothing more than doing this job where he gets to make people happy 15 or 20 minutes at a time, several times through the day.
Yeah.
And in the turn, he makes me happy by taking care of the customers the way I would take care of them. Yeah. I've got him by 11 years. Yep.
Okay. So do you kind of maybe see some of those characteristics and that you think Chris, for lack of better words, maybe somewhat of a mentor to you?
I'm not much of a people pleaser. I think my desire to make people happy is the feedback aspect, where I just enjoy knowing that what I did for them pleased them, what I did them they're not getting elsewhere. The instant reward of being paid for my services keeps me going.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the pay.
Yeah.
Where Joe, I think he just honestly just likes to please people.
Yeah. He's definitely a gem, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't think there's anybody that's ever met Joe like, I don't like that guy. I think everybody just he's easy to love.
Honestly, he never calls in sick. Always wants to work. And like I said, he's honest and loyal and takes care of things when I'm not in a way that I don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah. So, question on the instant gratification. You said that, and it's not even in my notes, but it's a topic that's interesting to me. So, sometimes you do a haircut, you get a really great tip, whatever that is. I won't make you say the number. But we know there's a number, right?
It's okay.
There's a number. Don't tell me the number.
Yeah, if I give a number, I might inflate it to make some people feel guilty and make them start tipping their barber better.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why you don't want to know, Matt.
I don't want to know because I don't want to be. I don't want to feel like I'm under tipping. I feel like I over tip. I don't know. Maybe not. Anyway. So the instant gratification, though, I mean, when you have those moments, right, where one customer comes in and let's say that they give you a really great gratuity, right?
Right.
Does that propel you into your day, or at this point it's all kind of you win some, you lose some, and
Well, every positive interaction
mm-hmm.
helps to keep me in the right mindset and in a positive mood.
Yeah.
Through my day. When I say instant gratification, part of that part of that formula or whatever is that I don't ever get engrossed into like a project that takes months for a corporation that I don't even know the owner of.
Yeah.
I spend 15 minutes with a person, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour, and they tell me what they want. I do my best to deliver it, and I like to think most of the time I complete the delivery to their satisfaction. I feel like that's how it goes. They all seem to say that, and my reviews are excellent. And then I move on to the next project. I never get buried in something that I don't feel like I can get out of.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody who works for a big corporation has to put together endless reports and things like that. That doesn't appeal to me at all.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a reward in that too, but I like the quick in, quick out, make a person happy and move on to the next
formula.
Right.
Speaking of rewards, Best of the East, I saw Cincinnati Magazine 2022. Is that right?
That's correct. I was not aware that I'd even been nominated until another fellow business owner had sent me a message over Facebook asking me to vote for her restaurant.
Mm.
And while on their website voting for this restaurant, which is called the Omelet House, I thought, I'll see what barbershops and salons in the area have been nominated. And lo and behold, there was my name.
No kidding.
So cool. I'm guessing a client was aware of this contest or found it somehow and entered our shop as a possible nominee. And we ended up winning this year.
That's awesome.
A great honor.
Yeah.
And honestly, the most honor is to know that somebody without my knowledge chose to enter me in this this contest, I guess you'd call it, which goes on yearly, and people voted for me.
Yeah. Do you find that, is that something that you use at all? I mean, is that something in like promotional material or on the website?
I was notified of the win about a month ago, and I did on social media blast that out with the logo of their contest, the Best of These contest, just to kind of make a little noise, and you take advantage of social media.
Yeah.
There may be a plaque or something involved at some point. They're trying to sell me, and I'm not a big proponent of purchasing something like that just to hang it on the wall.
Right.
But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. That's cool. I like what you said about, it's not even so much about the win. It's about somebody unbeknownst to you that came by and said, hey, I think, Chris would be a good candidate for this because you probably took care of him, or it could be somebody that you took care of their family or whatever it was, right?
Yeah, if you're listening to this podcast and you were the one, I would love to know so I can thank you.
Don't ever tell him. Make him answer the tip question first. So, all right. So this is, the point of this podcast is really, like I said, at the beginning, I love business. I think it's remarkable when people chart out on their own, and hearing your story. You're doing the job, right? You're kind of working your way through it. The leap, as I like to kind of think about it, right? Where you say, hey, I think I could do this on my own. I think I could start my own place, is to me, that's the step in a person's mind that I think is just really, really incredible, right? I mean, because it has to be super scary, right? To say, I'm going to stop doing this where I'm somewhat dependent on somebody else,
There's obviously a lot of unknown risk involved.
Yeah.
Luckily for me at the time, I didn't have a child yet. I was married and had been for quite some time, probably 6 or 7 years. And she was working, and I felt like it was a good time for me to try to take a chance. You had heard that I only worked about 19 months at the first job. I did find another job barbering at a barbershop for somebody else. That situation didn't work out great for me. They just didn't have the volume that I needed to make a good living in that location. So after probably 4 or 5 months, I left there, and that's when I made the choice to go out on my own. And I knew of a community, Batavia, Ohio, that didn't have a barbershop, and I thought was large enough, and all of that. There was enough people and the need there that they would support one. So I found a place and made the choice and put in a barbershop, and here I am 19 years later.
So was there any, how deep did you go into the research of, of location, or do I go Batavia or do I go here? Or did you really just kind of say, it almost sounds like your heart kind of just led you to Batavia, and you kind of felt in the air, the water, that there was, a need for it in that area, and you went for it.
That's pretty much how it was, Matt. My first job was in Mount Carmel, another barbershop that your grandfather didn't go to.
Yeah.
But after working there and serving people who were driving from Batavia, which is about 10 miles away, they were driving to Mount Carmel to get haircuts, and knowing they didn't have a shop there, and I thought, what better place? There's already people there who know me, and the need feels like it's there. The amount of money it took to get started wasn't tremendous, but it was sizable, and I took a shot. Yeah, and it paid off.
Did you take a loan out or something to start the first shop, or?
Yeah, actually I did. Unbeknownst to me, my wife had gone to her mother, and her father had already passed away for several years, and her mom was in a comfortable position, and she asked her mom if she would help back me going into business in a barbershop instead of ever going back to college. And her mom and I had always gotten along well, and she was fond of me, and she had already told Jessica yes before I knew any of this was going on. So we borrowed some money, and after I had been in business for a couple of years and got my feet underneath me and felt pretty comfortable, like I was going to be there for a while, I happened to be right behind a bank. I went into the bank and asked if I could have a loan for my business and paid her back in full. And then over the next 5 years, I paid that loan off and never owed anybody again.
That's awesome.
On the shop. So
that has to be a tremendous feeling. So would you say that almost right off the bat that you had people that were interested that came right in, or was it kind of tough going for a little while until you got your feet under you? What did that the start of it look like?
For sure, there was like a snowball effect where they trickled in the beginning, and then it just sort of built on itself as people experienced it and went out and told their friends, and vice versa. And then the limited advertising that I tried to do to bring attention to myself helped. I think just the fact that people saw a business going into a part of a building that had been empty for quite some time, and on the front windows I put in big letters, "Hey, barbershop coming."
Yeah.
And because the need was there, and I was right in the downtown area of the village, people walking around saw it, people driving through saw it. And the very first day I opened, I had 4 customers. I can still tell you who one of those people was.
Really? That's cool.
And it just built from there. And within 6 months, I had brought on another barber part-time. That unfortunately didn't work out, but it got to the point where I needed the help.
So when you first opened, you said you had four customers the first day. That's got to be very gratifying as a feeling to know that, okay, this might work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I'd only ever done 4 a day from here on out, it wouldn't have been a success.
Right.
But knowing that day 1, 4 people came on in and got haircuts, it was just that many more opportunities for me to get to know some people in the community and for them to tell their family and friends about me.
Yeah.
Took off.
The dollar on the wall that's hanging in your shop, is that your first dollar that you made in your business?
It is. A good friend of mine who was not working at the time, he had taken a leave of absence and was kind of on a sabbatical from his job. He helped me quite a bit because most of the remodeling that we had to do to the first shop that I owned was all done ourselves. We had to put a floor in, we had to do the electrical improvements. I had to have a plumber come in and do that according to the regulations from the barber board. It had to be somebody who was permitted and licensed and all that stuff to protect the public health. We painted and we patched and we installed cabinetry and all that kind of stuff. But my friend Mike was right at my side through a lot of that, and he was bound and determined to be my first paying customer. So a couple of days before my official opening on July 8th, he demanded a haircut, which I was happy to give because I was not paying him for his services. He was doing it out of the goodness of his heart and the desire to be helpful. And then he demanded that he pay me for it. And he had gone out special and purchased a crisp silver certificate at a local coin and currency collecting shop in Milford, and wanted me to have something that was a little out of the ordinary to hang as my first dollar. And it's hung in my shop ever since.
That is super cool. Yeah, I've always thought about that when I see that dollar in there. It's like, what's the story on that? Do people ask you a lot about that?
It comes up, yeah.
Yeah.
And it always gives me the opportunity to share that little bit of tidbit with them.
Yeah. Yeah. The barbershop decor, like just even as a concept to me, it's I love it. It's part eccentric, it's part, barbershop jokes and things like that. Is there how often do people that maybe regulars that you have that are good friends of the shop, like, do they bring stuff into you and go, hey, I found this would be really cool to put on the wall?
They absolutely do. It's funny that you say that, because probably about 30% of what's on the wall is stuff that I purchased and put on the wall. Over the years, things have been given to me, offered to me, whatever. And I've had signs, I've had photos, I've had an elk's head that hangs on my wall, and a boar's head, a wild boar's head that hangs on my wall.
Yeah.
These were not animals that I killed. They were gifted to the shop because the elk, that customer was selling his home and didn't have a place for it. And it was during the first year I was in my new location, and he said, told me about it, and I jokingly, because I like to kid around, said, hey, bring it up here, I'll hang it up for you. And he says, all right, I'll be right back.
And that elk's head is huge, by the way. It's not a small piece.
It's pretty big.
I guess if you know what an elk looks like, no surprises, right? But it's daunting.
It is, and I make good use of it. I hang my hand mirror off of one of its antlers, and it's a great distraction for kids when they come in the shop.
Yeah.
They all want to touch its fur and things like that, so I lift them up there and let them touch it.
Has anybody ever given you something to hang on the wall where you said, I can't do that one? The joke was a little maybe too over the top for your taste, or just didn't quite land where you, and they went, what? Really? I thought you'd love this.
Nothing really comes to mind as far as that goes. Unless it's really risque or offensive, I'm pretty happy to oblige, as long as it's not asking me to be a Pittsburgh fan or something like that.
There's nothing more offensive.
Exactly.
Hey, I got this Steelers logo or flag to put on the wall, and
it's hard enough to serve Pittsburgh fans in my shop, but when they if the situation ever occurred where they would bring in a terrible towel or something and say, oh, you should pin that to the wall, yeah, that's not happening.
It's not happening. If they're wearing a shirt, I would be tempted to just buzz a little too close and just ruin their entire day. So you talked about when you were getting off the ground, right? You said some limited marketing flyers and things like that. What were
some advertising?
Yeah. Did you do like an ad in a paper, or what did you do? What was some of the things you started with?
I did try an ad in the paper, not with much success.
Yeah.
Put a coupon out in the local printed paper.
Yeah.
One of the things that helped me the very most is Batavia is the county seat, and there's courthouses, there's lawyers' offices, there's county offices, there's all kinds of governmental institutions, banks, and other assorted businesses. I had some flyers made up, and like the day before I opened for business, I walked the town. I walked into every door and office that was open and I could walk into, and I handed somebody a flyer and just said, hey, I'm Chris. I'm opening the barbershop right down behind Chase Bank. We start tomorrow, and I would love if you would post this on your bulletin board or hang it near the water cooler or give it to somebody you think might take advantage of it. And that actually brought me quite a few people to start out with that work in the community.
Mm-hmm.
They may come from other places, but they have a lunchtime or can take a break during the day and come down and get a haircut. And having that convenience in their town right where they work a lot of people took advantage of it. Another thing I did is there's another town just 5 miles up the road called Owensville, and there was a gas station that's still there, but they had a sign out front that you could rent and hang the letters on it, and it was kind of up in the air a little bit, but it was right at the main intersection in town. And a lot of people used it to like wish their kids a happy birthday, or maybe some organization would announce the spaghetti dinner fundraiser on it or something like that. I walked into the gas station and said, how much is it to rent the sign and how long can I rent it for? And it was $8 a day or $8 a week, I think.
Wow.
And I was like, I'll take as much time as available over the next month. And they said, well, we've never done that before, but okay.
Yeah.
And I put a sign up there on their raised sign that said, Chris's Barbershop now open in Batavia, and put the phone number and the address. And a lot of people from that neighboring community, which also did not have a barbershop, started coming down to see me. And that helped a lot too.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, that's interesting because when you're starting out, it sounds like, and we talked about this a little earlier, right? When you were starting out, it sounds like you went through a lot of local channels rather than even some of the bigger ones, or maybe you tried a mixture, but it sounds like even you had the most success with some of the local channels, right? I mean, face to face, walking in, hey, I'm Chris, right? And so some of the theme, I looked at your Facebook, right? And I saw during COVID, you had a post that said, hey, shop local, right? I mean, support your local businesses.
Absolutely.
It helps if they're open and you can support them, right? Support them. And it sounds like even in the beginning, you had a lot of support from that as well. You had a friend helping you remodel the place, was your first customer. Some of your first customers were people in town that you did word of mouth and walked around and talked to.
And the other businesses in town were happy to see another business come in a town that didn't have a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
That weren't necessarily going to compete with them, and help bring more traffic into the town. So they were telling their customers, and they were coming down and meeting me and using my services if they could. And I kind of love the idea of a rising tide floats ships.
Yeah.
So what's good for the business down the street, as long as they're not taking my business away, is good for me. Support them. Tell people about them. Encourage your friends and family and customers to use those other businesses.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing about your Space Trader website is made for other businesses to support one another.
Right.
I think it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, the hope is to try to just give a way for people to connect with each other, and some of those conversations aren't easy to have, right? I mean, I know that, the one business that was right next door to you for so long, Jocelyn's salon, it's probably really easy when you're right next door to somebody to promote each other and say, hey, if I'm cutting a guy's hair and he says, hey, this salon next door, are they, they good? Do they do a good job? And you go, of course they do, right? And,
absolutely.
Bring your wife, bring your, whatever, right? It's easy when you're right next door to each other, but sometimes I think those conversations are tough for people to have if they don't, if they're not organic or natural, or they're not set up for that kind of success.
It's funny that you mentioned the salon that we put in next door to my shop. They actually rented some of my space, and her husband built a wall between our shops, but there was a pass-through door so we could go back and forth. Her and I, we had sort of this envisionment of being able to serve the entire family. And several of my customers, at first notion, they thought, are you sure you want to put a salon in next door? Won't they maybe take some of your business or whatever? And I said, they might. I might take some of theirs. You just never know. But if they can help the young girls and the moms and the girlfriends and the sisters of my clients, and I can help the husbands and brothers and boyfriends of their clients, I think it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
And it turned out we complemented each other far more than we competed with each other. And we both built our businesses by being next to one another, networking together. We had a business card even that had her business card on one side and mine on the other.
Oh, that's cool.
So every time we handed out a business card, we were handing out our complimenting business next door neighbor business card too.
Yeah. Well, and it's probably good for you to know that there's somebody that you trust that you can refer somebody to, right? I mean, in the same business, right? Hey, my wife's looking to get her hair cut or whatever styled, and you say, hey, the lady that owns the store right next to me, I mean, she's fantastic, and I would recommend her highly, and vice versa, I'm sure, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So that's good. I know that you've got a lot of other, or at least several other businesses that you kind of work with and support. I know Mean Beard, Mean Beards or Mean Beard?
Mean Beard.
Beard.
Yes.
Mean Beard. I know that's something that you support, and so how do you hook up with them? I know that before you got hooked up with them, you did not have the mean beard that you currently sport, or at least it wasn't as epic as it currently is.
I'm not sure if my beard is mean. It's just sort of slightly upset.
It's aggravated.
Yeah,
it's
aggravated is a good word. But,
yeah. So how does that work? I mean, is Mean Beard, are they local, or did they kind of hear about you? Tell me a little bit about how that happened.
Mean Beard is local. It is a product made by a partner in that business who did create all of their products and makes them still currently right here in Batavia. In fact, the shop that Jocelyn started her salon in, which was part of my shop, is now being rented by Mean Beard as their production facility, and that's where they get their shipments ready to go out. They're mainly an online business, and then they sell their products through outlets like my barbershop, Jungle Gyms, and other affiliated type of men's grooming places. It's cool to know that owner, and I was inspired when I started selling their product to try the product.
Yeah.
I figured what a better testimony to how good the product is to be a user of that product and have people who known me for a long time watch what happens to my beard when I start letting it grow and then taking care of it properly by using a quality product. And I was told recently I'm their, other than a big retail outlet like Jungle Gyms, as far as barbershops or salons that sell their product go, I'm their number one retailer.
No kidding. That's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's got to be exciting. And I'm looking at the pictures, and on your Facebook, I think you've got a bunch of different pictures, and epic beards. I mean, just all around. I mean, there's pictures of guys in suits with beards. I mean, it looks like it could be either be Mean Beard, or it could be a ZZ Top. I mean, no one's messing around when it comes to these things. Did you guys have somewhere to go? Some of these pictures got taken at where you're hanging out with these guys, or?
Yeah, actually, I competed in my first beard competition last fall. It was put on by the Cincinnati Beard Barons. It's called the Big Whisker Revival, and they're a organization of bearded people and the people who love bearded people, and they do fundraisers like this one to help support some organizations that they find worthy. The Barracks Project was their main benefactor from Big Whisker Revival, and the Barracks Project is an organization that helps homeless veterans find housing until they can get back on their feet. They also help veterans who are trying hard to assimilate back into regular society find the help they need to do that more successfully. There's a lot of mental illness when it comes to veterans who have experienced combat and then get out and they don't know what to do, and they're suffering from PTSD and other things, and they're heavily involved in all of that. I learned about them through the Cincinnati Beard Barons, and the Barracks Project is a very worthy organization.
I think you have to come in contact, especially in those types of organizations, right, with lots of people, like you said, that need help, right? And I know that, and I don't know if this is new or maybe it's just new to me. I mean, barbers have a lot of opportunity to donate their services from time to time to, organizations like that, right? Where it's homeless veterans or just, let's say, homeless people in general, right? Or
absolutely
back to school programs or, learn to work type of workshops and things like that, right?
In the past, I've done a few of those things.
Yeah. It has to be super rewarding to be able to, go and donate your services. I mean, like we talked about in the beginning, right? I mean, your appearance means a lot, right? And I think, the smile on somebody's face, I'm sure, if they haven't had a haircut in a long time either, because they couldn't afford it or whatever, it's got to be pretty rewarding to know that you're using your gift to help somebody, right?
I know how I feel after I get a haircut. I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that for somebody who maybe hasn't had a haircut in a year or 2 or 3, and give them that renewed pride in their appearance, even if it's just their hair.
Yeah.
I can't do a whole lot for them when it comes to their clothing or something like that, but I can, in a short period of time, just use the skills that I have to help somebody out, and it feels good.
Yeah. I think that's it's interesting to think about the kind of person that it takes to say, hey, I'm going to be willing to give up my time and go and help somebody else out like that. And I think that community, I've seen pictures of events where you've got guys that are coming in and they're getting their hair cut, and you can tell it's been a long time, and just the smile on somebody's face it's huge. I mean, it's got to be pretty rewarding to be able to donate that back.
One of the earliest events that I took part in, I actually organized at my barbershop, and all we did was benefit the church. I don't even remember exactly what the need was at the time, but I and another barber, Joe, who works for me still, and Jocelyn, who started the salon next to me before she ever went out on her own and left the salon where she was working. We had an afternoon one time at the barbershop where we cut hair for free and for donations to benefit our church, and we raised over $600 in just 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
And everybody had a great time, and it was great to commune with one another and give back and see what we could do. Yeah.
It sounds like, this profession is it's the right choice for you, right? So you enjoy it. It's a blessing. It sounds like to you and your family, and but headaches, let me tell you, or you tell me. I mean, what would you say? I mean, when you're running the business, right? I mean, you talk to people and they go, "Oh, you run your own business. That means you get to set your own hours. You get to do this. You get to do that," right? Is that exactly how it works, or would you say it's a little different? What are the headaches?
Well, the fact that I'm my own boss is one of the greatest misconceptions of being a barber who owns his own shop. I'm sure it works for a retail owner or any other service provider. I tell people all the time, I'm not my own boss. I have hundreds of bosses because every person that walks through that door and pays me for my services is my boss. And if I don't do the job to their satisfaction, they're going to let me know.
Right.
And so I think it's a correct way to look at things, even though it's a little bit playing with the facts, playing with that situation, taking advantage of looking at it from another angle. But in some ways, they really are my boss.
Yeah.
They might look at it differently, but I look at it that way sometimes.
Yeah. So just from a nuts and bolts perspective of, the day in, day out of running your own business, I mean, what would you say is, like, this is the worst part of it? Like, if I could just not have to do this, like, this would be it.
I stand a lot.
Yeah.
And it's hard on the body.
Yeah.
Like anything else, you get conditioned to it. I mean, nobody rides their bike as well as they can ride it in the first month as they can ride it 3 years after they started. People notice how much I spend on my feet and make comments like, I don't think I could ever do that. Well, before I ever did it, I didn't think I could do it either. but your body gets conditioned to it. But unfortunately, as I get older, I feel it more and more. And I know barbers who left the field after a lengthy career prematurely before they would really reach a retirement age, and have to find something else to do because their bodies just couldn't take it anymore. Luckily, I've been doing this for over 20 years now, and I still get up every day and go. But as I've gotten older and my business has gotten better, I find ways to limit the amount of time that I spend there. A little more than I used to. I would work 5 or 6 days a week, every week, 10 years ago without complaint. But now I'm down to about 4 days a week, and I make sure I take a day off in the middle of the week so that I never really have to work on my feet all day long for more than a couple days at a time. And it helps. It really does. But that's the hardest part, is just the physicality of it. Even though you're not running a race, you're not lifting heavy weights or digging ditches or whatever, but it still beats you up to be on your feet that long. Have your hands out in front of you causes pain in your back and things like that too. But if it wasn't worth it, I wouldn't keep doing it.
Well, and I know you and I talked a while back. I mean, it sounds like you've got a really good, very loyal customer base that that just keep coming back, and I'm like, I know that's got to be huge for you to say, hey, this is these are my people, and I enjoy taking care of them, and I love that they come to me because they know they're going to get a quality product and a quality service, and so that's got to feel good to be able to continue to take care of them for as long as you have.
I definitely feel blessed by my clientele. Many of them have been coming to me for a long time, 10, 15, even 20 years. Some of the clients I still serve today came to me when I started at the first barbershop that I went to work at, and they got to know me there, and when I left, they were like, what happened? Where did Chris go? And eventually found their way back to me. And, through the website that I use to book appointments for myself, I collect reviews. I don't physically do it. The website does it for me. And they're very good to me when it comes to that. I have an excellent rating. As far as the reviews go, I have hundreds and hundreds of 5-star reviews. And as a person who will look at online reviews for anything that I'm shopping for that I don't have ultimate confidence in, customer reviews go a long way, and I hear that from new customers all the time. I happened upon your website and saw the reviews and thought this was a place I got to come.
Yeah, that's good. Do you is that something you look at a lot? I mean, do you check them out? I mean, you think about like professional, let's say celebrities or whatever. They always tell you, I don't look at the media. I don't look at any of that because I couldn't, right? Because a lot of people don't go on the internet to say nice things, right? I mean, they would go to say mean things, right? So I'm sure that would be, if you saw something like that, it'd probably be a little tough to take.
It would be. Like I said, I just feel blessed that I don't have to forego that. I don't see that. I do get notifications every time that someone makes an appointment. I do get a notification every time someone leaves a review. If it catches my eye, I might take a minute to read it because I can see in the notification how many stars it was for.
Yeah.
And so I know when it says 4 or 5 stars or whatever, it's going to be a pretty good review.
Yeah.
And then I might show it off to my wife or something like that and say, oh, look.
Yeah.
Look how awesome your husband is.
Well, you have an awesome family. We've, like, again, so everybody listening, Chris and I have known each other for a long time, and, he's got a great family, and you guys take care of people. I know you do mission work and all different kind of things, and so Chris is a good dude, and he's got a really good family. I know that love you and support you, and they're super awesome. Your wife is, a public servant, and so she does her thing, and your son is an incredible banjo player. So just somehow he became this virtuoso. But you have a cool family. I mean, you really do, and you guys have been a blessing to us.
It's been a blessing to know you and your family, and spend time together on occasion. And I am a blessed man. I only have the one son. He's a good young man who is doing his best in school. He's very talented when it comes to music. He takes part in marching band, and he is a part of an academic quiz team at school that's undefeated for 2 years now.
Yeah.
He's getting ready to go compete in a nationals event in April, and I'm super excited for that, to see how that goes. My wife, you mentioned, is a public servant. She works in human services and has had a long career doing what she does. She's in a supervisory role now, and does, she's independent in the fact that she has her own job, has her own career, does well for herself, and I think that's just the way our relationship works well, is that we are together at home, but in the workplace, she's her own person, and I'm my own person, and it's great.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll get ready to wrap up here in just a little bit, but I've got a couple more things to ask you. So, what would you say? I mean, you've been doing this for 20 plus years now. You've got a beautiful family. You've obviously been successful. You're able to, work a little less, and you got Joe that works with you for a long time, and he's successful. And I mean, what would you say to somebody that's out there that says, I would love to go start my own business. I maybe have an idea, or I have this thought in my head, and I just don't know what to do. I don't know if I'm going to be successful at it. I mean, how would you encourage someone like that to go and just give it a shot?
I would definitely encourage them to make sure that there's a need that needs to be filled, whether it be a product they can produce, a service they can provide, anything of that like. If you find a place where there's a need that needs to be met, and you meet it, and you do it in a way that the community sees value in it, that you really can't help but be successful. Especially if you do it with a good attitude, and provide. Value's a tricky word. There's a lot of ways to define that, and it's really a lot of factors that go into that. I mean, sometimes it's price. It's always price, right? But it's not just price. Sometimes it's quality. Sometimes it's being consistency, consistent with the quality, or the availability, or just the fact that they enjoy being in your company while you're providing a service or while you're providing the product they need. But if you give them value through what you provide, you can't help but be successful.
Yeah. Was it, you would say it was worth, at this point, you would say it was worth taking that risk and jumping out, stepping off that ledge and doing it on your own?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I liked selling auto parts, and one of the reasons that I liked it was I would spend a short period of time with somebody. I would find out what they need, and I would try to fill that for them. And if I was able to do that, then they walk away happy. And I never got buried into something forever, like I said before.
Right.
It was quick in, quick out, make someone happy, and move on to the next person. It's customer service. Whether you're selling an auto part to somebody or providing a haircut or whatever, it just, to me, that's fit my personality.
Yeah. All right. Last question for you. Tell me real quickly about the iguana mohawk. We'll finish on a high note.
So I had seen the mohawk that was styled like an iguana online previous to having the opportunity to do one of those, and other people had seen it as well. And it's funny because the person that came in and asked if I could do that for them was about 50 years old and hadn't had a haircut in quite some time. And he said, I want to get this because I think it's cool and I know it'll piss off my wife.
Nice.
So I said, I'll give it a stab and we'll see what happens. Worst case scenario, we can shave your head.
Yeah.
And it achieved everything that he wanted it to.
It looked awesome. I saw the pictures. I got to write this down and ask him because it was pretty cool. Yeah.
There's been times in the past where I've had opportunities to be creative. I've never had a 50-year-old man come in and ask for a iguana mohawk again, but I once did what I call the Hair Jordan by carving the Air Jordan symbol. Not so much carving it into the back of their head, but taking off everything else and leaving in hair that Air Jordan symbol that you see on the shoes and on the shirts and all that stuff.
That's cool.
And the young man, he was probably about 11 years old at the time. He just loved it. But it took a long time, and I didn't charge enough money for it.
Yeah.
So I don't really seek out those opportunities to do that stuff, but on occasion, it's fun.
Yeah, you get somebody come in and ask for something cool, and you got the time.
Right.
Give it a shot. Yeah.
I've done some other unique ones over the years. I had a kid one time come in who was on the wrestling team, and in homage to his father, who had done the same thing when he was a wrestler, asked me to basically put my hand over the back of his head to cover hair in the shape of a handprint and shave everything else off. So he had a hair-shaped, or a hand-shaped patch of hair on the crown of his head, and he went and competed in homage to his father.
Wow.
With that. It was terrible, but hey, it's what he wanted.
When I was a kid and I was at gyms, I used to move a lot in the chair, and he would always tell me that my hair was gonna, look like somebody had, just shaved it in one, in some crazy way, right? And he would always threaten me, and he used to keep right next to the chair. He used to keep a really long, amount of really thick braided cord, almost like you would find on a ship. Maybe not quite that thick, but he'd always tell me that that's what he was going to tie me up with if I didn't stop moving in the chair. I remember. And he had the chair actually had cigarettes, ashtrays in it.
That's an old school chair.
Yeah, and I remember him telling me that he's like, oh yeah, back in the day we would just basically spin the chair around and we just had the buzzer out, or the clippers out, and that was your haircut. He's like, and I'm thinking, gosh, man. I mean, he was probably I don't know. If I had to guess, he was probably in his 60s when I was a kid, And,
he's in his 80s now. I know of him.
You know of him? Yeah. And you talking about carving a handprint in the back of his head just made me think of whatever haircut he would have probably given somebody back in his more wild days,
I can remember talking to an old barber one time, and he kept a cigar box at his station with about 6 or 8 of dried apricots, freeze-dried apricots in it.
Yeah.
And he would open it up and show the kids and say, "These are ears." That had come off of kids that didn't sit still. Oh, the tricks.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, hey, so tell everybody where we can find you, and social media, you name it, Facebook, wherever. How can people get in touch with you?
You can find me at www.chris-barbershop.com. You can find me at Chris's Barbershop, so that would be CHRIS apostrophe Barbershop LLC on Facebook. And you can find me at 1014 Hospital Drive in Batavia, Ohio. Our phone number is 735-2200. You can make appointments online through the Booksy app, which is BOOKSY, or you can make an appointment on my website through a banner there that will take you to a page where you can do that. You can also find me on Google. I have a Google listing that will allow you to make appointments as well.
Nice. Is there anything else I missed?
Not too much.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure exactly how this was going to go, but
I wasn't either.
We went down a lot of avenues. I guess the one thing that I would say for anybody who's interested in going into business is I find that the number one thing that has helped me be successful is just consistency. Make sure that you're there when you say you will be there. In my case, I provide a service and I can't provide it if I'm not there.
Right.
Customers, if they come to you when you say you'll be there and you're not there, they don't let that happen too many times before they find someplace else to get that service met. And consistency and quality as well. Strive to do a good job, but also keep in mind that you can't spend all day beyond a reasonable amount of time on a single customer. So you got to find that balance between doing a quick job and doing the best job, and hopefully you find a way to do the best job quickly.
Yeah. I used to have a boss that would say, I need out of you perfection in little or no time at all. And it's like, I don't know that I could do that. I was back in the grass cutting days. Like, I can't cut this much quicker than I am.
I only need it really quick and perfect.
Right. It's like you kind of get one or the other. But yeah, that balance is huge, especially in your job, right? I mean, it's much like, in some ways, serving customers in a restaurant, right? I mean, the more customers you can get through your tables, the more money you have a chance of making, And so, well, cool. Anything else I missed?
I don't think so.
I appreciate it, man. So
it was a pleasure.
Yeah, this is good. So for everybody else that's out there, if you're listening, again, big thank you to Chris, and shout out to his barbershop and to Joe and obviously your family for lending you some time this evening to hang out with me. I will post all of this on our website, spacetradr.com, and we'll be looking to do this. We'll say once a month for now, and maybe a little more frequently, maybe a little less frequently. We'll just kind of see what the cadence we can kind of create is. If you're a business owner that's out there and you're interested in growing, I would encourage you to check our website out. If you have any questions, reach out. I'll be the one that answers your questions, so you can get with me right away. And if you are interested in coming on this podcast, I would be very interested in talking to you as well. So again, thanks everybody for checking us out. Hope you enjoyed everything. Again, big thanks to Chris, and hope everybody has a great rest of the week.
Thank you, Matt.